31.264.
All right, let's take a look at that. So this is going to be a first lap hot lap, and this is going to be a skillful hot lap as opposed to C-Fix if you watched that earlier. So what we're going to do is we're coming out of the pits. You really need to get out of the pits as fast as you can because it does actually matter quite a bit. If you take your time too much out of the pits, you're not going to be up to speed, and you'll have to make it a lap 2 qualifying lap. So what we're going to do is we're going to just rip the outside. So everything that I'm going to be doing this lap is ripping the outside, and I'll give a slight caveat to that at the end here. But as we go into our out lap, or of turn 3 and 4 of the out lap, basically I just barely get out of the throttle. Don't mind that little brake input there. That was kind of an accident. That doesn't really do anything. I get out of the throttle to like half, and then I get almost immediately back in it. And the goal with 3 and 4 is you don't want to be right by the wall and exit because it chokes your car off too much and you can't keep up your momentum. So I actually come down to the seam, and this is kind of the same for the actual lap 2, but I come down to the seam in 3 and 4 so that when I throttle off the corner, I can straighten the car out and keep as much momentum as possible. Okay, so I tested both just going on the yellow line and cutting through the apron, and in the B car, cutting the apron is the fastest. So we cut the apron all the way down. Don't keep it too long down here. It doesn't really matter. Just let it come back up. And now we need to get right by the wall to rip the wall in 1 and 2. So ripping the wall is very, I would say, challenging. It's a different set of skills, I think. So what we're going to be doing here is, first off, number 1 rule when you're ripping the wall, don't look at the wall. Look at your mark. Because if you're looking at the wall, you're going to head towards the wall. So when you're aiming on the first hot lap here, I want you to aim at the seam just about, maybe a little bit higher than the seam, because we're just pushing this car as hard as we can. Yes, you can go on the wall, like right on the wall the whole way around, but when you have tires to destroy in qualifying, you can make that little diamond of just the top lane, and that's faster, in my opinion, for pure hot lap time. So you see, enter the corner, almost by the seam. Now make note of a little brake tap that I do. So I get on the brakes and immediately back at the gas. You don't want to be on the brakes for too long. If you want to see this in real time, go back and watch the beginning of the video. But just a little brake tap, and then back immediately on the gas to partial, around 75% throttle, and we ride that until the car stops sliding up to the wall. So we ride this 75% throttle until the car becomes parallel with the wall in its direction. And then we can get on to full throttle. So you see how I'm on full throttle now, even though we're only halfway through the corner, and now I modulate the throttle a little bit just to help keep the rears under it. You don't want to be sliding your rears on the exit of the corner because that hurts your momentum and your speed. So I missed out on a couple hundredths doing that little pedal there, but that's okay. Still a pretty good corner. All right. And then 3 and 4 is going to be the same idea. So I did some testing. You can run the bottom of 3 and 4 in hot lap and be about, I think the ceiling is about maybe half a tenth to a tenth slower than the ripping the wall. I could be wrong, but I really think that the top is overall better. But the bottom is not a bad option if you want to try that out. Okay, same idea. We're going to stab the brake. Stab the brake. Get back on the throttle almost immediately, but instead of 75%, now we're on 50%. The turn in 3 and 4 just feels a little tighter than 1 and 2, so it's not as open with the throttle. So now instead of holding the 75%, I'm holding the 50%, slowly raising it, and then getting parallel with the wall, a little bit closer for comfort in this end of the section, or of the lap. You can see I was really hoping that it would get parallel soon. And then it finally did, and I mashed the throttle, and by then I was right on the wall just about. And then you just drive it kind of straight off the corner. Because if you wait to full throttle until this parallel moment, then the rest of the corner is going to be extremely easy. But if you don't wait and throttle up early, you're going to have a hard time for the rest of the corner. It's going to be tight, and then you're going to snap it loose, and then you're going to lose a lot of momentum. You're saying, oh, well, this is slow. well, this was comparing to a lap where I kind of dive bombed the corner a little more. And you can see that I make it all back on the exit. And we get a pretty decent time. All right, now let's go to the long run notes. All right, so we'll do a bit of a long run here, and I just want to talk to you guys about a couple things. I'm not going to do the full run here because I got a bunch of guides to make today because I didn't do any yesterday because of the live stream. Thank you all for who came out. That was awesome. But we're just going to do a quick little tutorial here on the different lines that we can run. First off, I don't like taking the apron during race unless you're like defending or passing someone or whatever, because I believe that that apron kind of wears tires or causes you to do stuff that wears tires a little more. So I'm a big believer in the bottom of Kansas because it really, I think it saves tires, but I also acknowledge that there are ways to run the wall while saving tires as well. So I just like getting off the throttle early, letting it roll the bottom. This is going to be the best way to kind of have your cake and eat it too. So you're going to see I'm a full half a second slower than my qual lap. So this is kind of like the tire saving line. This obviously won't really work if you're in a huge pack and everyone's trying to like get around you and all that stuff. Like I can probably push it like this is completely fine. So I could probably get like another 2/10 out of that lap, but you're still going to get passed on the short run by people who are pushing. So I actually recommend, if you're in a position where you have pressure on you after a restart, I like running the top for at least a little bit. And it depends situation to situation, but you can run the top without really destroying your tires. The whole point of the top is to build up your momentum. So you see I'm not pushing it nearly as hard as the bottom, and that kind of equalizes the times. Well, this is more of a thing that works on long run too. The thing that kills people running the top is when they use too much steering wheel to achieve it. We're just going to cut here because I have the momentum. What really kills people when they run the top is when they overdrive it and have to use a ton of steering wheel to keep it off the wall. You see how much steering wheel I used there? Yeah, that was faster, but that's not sustainable. Definitely not sustainable. And that's why I like running the bottom. So you do a couple laps up top, kind of preserving your track position as much as you can. Let the people kind of heat up their stuff a little bit. But in B-Fixed is very reliant on tire saving. So if there are people really pushing and you're not going to get freight trained like 10 positions, you might just want to let them by. I'd love just rolling the bottom here. I just know that I'm not going to be too slow and I'm not going to be too hard on my tires. Like, yes, did I lose almost 2/10 to ripping the top? Yes. But how sustainable is that? Not entirely. And so get to a point in the run where okay,
32.003.
I can choose to just keep running this bottom line, or I can start using my tires to run the top. And when it comes that time, I do still recommend that you don't overdrive the top. It's really tempting to just dive bomb the top and make up as much time as possible. But giving up half a tenth up top to preserve your tires is pretty much the same thing as saving tires by running the bottom with a somewhat different line. So just because, this is one of the traps that people fall into when they're running the top, just because they're running the top does not mean that you have to go 100%. This isn't really like real life. It's like everyone sees Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick rip the wall in real life and think, man, if I go 100% by the wall, that's like the only way I can do it. No, there's tire saving by the wall too. And it's all the same principle. Turning the wheel as little as possible. So yeah, my lap times aren't that good up top, but that's the way to save tires up top.
32.291.
So we'll do a couple more laps here. It all equalizes. If you're on a short run, please feel free to push. But this setup is a little bit tight for my liking, which is telling me that this is going to be a tire wear race. And I personally would just run the bottom the entire race, because I think that the bottom will just come to the people who are saving tires, and then maybe if you need to set up a passing situation, then you use the top. But see, already right now the bottom and the top are equalized, right? And I wasn't pushing the top per se, but if I push the top anymore, it would be an unsustainable level of steering input. So it's up to you guys. My recommendation is run the bottom. I think people can make the top work. I just think that it's a lot easier to stay disciplined and run the bottom. And we'll bring it into the pits after this. Check our tires.
32.439.
Alright. Oops. Let's see what we got here. So yeah, 94.93, that's really good. That means that we were really taking care of our tires. I guarantee you if I was pushing in that run, then I would be a lot more further down the right front. I think as the tires wear, it's going to push to the right front naturally. This car just it does not really get to the point where it's just spinning right rear at this track. So just be on the lookout for that. Really just take care of that right front the entire time. Alright, thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.